Wow, it's not an earthquake. Don't panic. My cat has decided that his favorite toy is like the right arm of my tripod. So anyway. Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. Happy Monday. This is probably gonna go up later than normal because I am filming day of. I know, it's a very busy time right now. I think I mentioned this at some point in the past, but so I just got married a couple weeks ago. We're like coming up on a month, and this Friday my best friend is marrying my brother. So it's just crazy wackadoodle time right now, but we're making it work and it's all good. It's like very happy time, just very busy. We're navigating a lot of changes. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so now. I'm here on Mondays and Fridays. We're talking about a couple different shows right now. Once Upon a Time, The Vampire Diaries, Good Omens. Some book content is in the works. I am working on the Assassin's Blade video and I'm really excited about it, but it is gonna take me a little while. I thought books for some reason would be almost quicker than the TV to get out. It's the direct opposite, especially tackling an SJM series. There's just so many details. So I'm just taking my time on that because I want to do it right and I want to give you guys the same level of detail that Carrie did so that you have like a breakdown series in case you're like me and you're getting prepared for Crescent City 3, which is coming out at the end of January. So we have some time, but I want to get those out to you before then. So doing my best to get those ready. But without further ado, let's get into Once Upon a Time, episode 15. So we open with David and Emma at the police station. She ends up letting him go because she knows that he didn't do anything. So even though all this evidence is mounting up on him, she's convinced he didn't do it because of her, like, I can tell when you're lying superpower thing. So she lets him go. August is flirting with Ruby at the diner and Granny gets really annoyed and basically like dumps on Ruby that she needs to grow up and she needs to take on more responsibility at the diner, and that is like the exact opposite of what Ruby wants. Like Ruby wants to travel, she wants to see the world, she wants to go on adventures, which is why she's so drawn to August because he has been out of town and he has all this knowledge and he's cute, so you know. We cut to a flashback of Ruby in the Enchanted Forest. We see her inside a little cottage. It's winter time, so there's snow on the ground, and there's this cute boy named Peter coming up to her window, and they're like flirting, very clearly interested in each other. He's trying to convince her to like come out with him, but she's nervous because there's a wolf prowling the area, and we can hear Granny inside the house being like, "What are you doing? You need to come help me. Come out here, girl. Where are you?" So we can kind of assume that Granny is kind of controlling in both worlds, and that's the dynamic of their relationship. Red also wears her cloak, which is this like gorgeous red velvet situation, and she says she wears it to ward off the wolf and keep her safe from attacks. Her and Granny like fortify the cottage from the inside, and then Red goes to bed and Granny sits by the door like guarding it with a little crossbow that she has. The next morning, Red finds Snow White hiding in their chicken coop stealing eggs because this is when Snow is on the run. Snow actually gives her the fake name Mary Margaret. It's very obvious that she's lying, but Red is really sweet, so she's like, "It's okay, like we can help you, you're safe here," and she takes her inside. They go to the well to get water, and the water in the well is blood, and they find a hunting party that had gone after the wolf just decimated on the grounds near the cottage. In Storybrooke, Emma has to have the difficult conversation with Mary Margaret where she's like, "I know you love David, but it looks really bad that his wife is missing, and we had just found out that y'all were having an affair. Like, this looks really bad for both of you and you need to be really careful." Mary Margaret is very much on David's side. She knows he didn't do it, even though they don't technically have alibis for each other because at that point they were broken up. So the night Catherine disappeared, they were not together. They walk up on Ruby leaving town and sketch-ass Dr. Whale is like, "What do you need? Do you want me to help you? I could like drive you somewhere if you want." He is twice her age and he needs to back off. Mary Margaret is like, "Dr. Will, what are you doing out here?" And he's like, I was just leaving. So Emma and Mary Margaret take Ruby home with them to figure out what she needs to do next, because at this moment she has run away from home and she has no plans. So she just has a suitcase and she quit the diner and she's leaving Granny and she has no idea what she's gonna do. The village back in the Enchanted Forest is trying to figure out how they're gonna fight the wolf, and Granny is trying to convince everybody to just let it go and let the wolf be. She's like, I was attacked by the wolf when I was a kid and I know how dangerous and bad it is. She lost her whole family when she was a little girl to the wolf, so there's no point in trying to fight it. They just need to hunker down during the full moon and let it be. Snow and Red have a little sleepover moment and they bond over how much Red loves Peter. They've been friends since they were kids and now it's like slowly turning into something more. And Snow is very much like, you shouldn't let Granny keep you from him. Like, if you love him, you should be with him. And Red is like, well, of course I want to do that, but it wouldn't be safe, especially like with the wolf out there. So Red wants to sneak up on the wolf during the day and like track it to its den and kill it there, because the hunting parties keep getting killed at night. So her and Snow White just set off following the tracks through the woods. They realize though, finding its tracks, that it's like absolutely ginormous. It's like the size of a horse. So Mary Margaret is in the woods looking for Catherine and she runs into David. He's also looking for Catherine. He's kind of just wandering around whispering, I'm looking, I'm looking, I'm looking, and like not making eye contact with Mary Margaret. So she's like, what on earth is wrong with you? And she immediately calls Emma and is like, something's up with David. I don't know what's going on. Ruby is hanging out at the sheriff's office with Henry and she's kind of lamenting about the fact that she's not very good at anything, but the phone keeps ringing. So she starts answering the phone and she's able to like field the calls. Some of them she's able to just answer herself because she has a lot of knowledge of the town. Emma walks in and sees her doing that and she's like, you're definitely good at this. Like, we could use help around here. Do you want to work for me? And Ruby like immediately agrees. Snow and Red follow the tracks until all of a sudden the paw prints turn into boot prints, which means we've got a werewolf on our hands. The tracks lead to Red's window and the girls are like, oh my God, it's Peter. Peter's the wolf, which is just like heartbreaking for Red. So Red immediately tells Peter what she's figured out about him and he's horrified because he's like, how could I be killing people and not know it? But they realize that probably what happens is when the wolf takes over, it like blocks those memories for him. So it's like he's got two separate minds inside of himself. But she says she loves him anyway and she doesn't care. So her plan is to tie him up once a month and stay with him and keep watch and keep him from hurting anybody else. He wants her to leave him there alone just in case because he doesn't want to break out and hurt her, but she insists that she needs to stay with him, and it's a very cute, sweet moment. Emma takes Ruby out into the woods to look for David, and she has retained those tracking skills from what she had in the Enchanted Forest, and she finds him very quickly, and he is passed out on the mossy ground. He wakes up and he's got no memory of how he got out there or what's going on. Emma gets suspicious and they kind of mutually realize that if he's losing time like this and going into these weird stages, that could mean that he did call Catherine the night she died and he just doesn't remember it. At the hospital, while they're getting David checked out, there's this iconic line where Regina shows up because she's still his emergency contact now that Catherine is gone, and she like turns to Emma and she's like, why haven't you found Catherine yet? And Emma goes, there's a whole lot of Maine to cover, Regina. And Regina just hits her with, well, you've covered this room. Go look somewhere else. I can't. She is just such a bitch. I love her so much. Because Emma's coming from the hospital, she sends Ruby out to search the woods one more time, just in case, because they want to get there before Regina can send somebody of her own out there, or Regina can go because Emma just doesn't trust her. Ruby goes out there and uses those tracking skills, and she finds a fresh patch of dirt, and when she digs it up, there's a box. It looks like one of Regina's heart boxes. She opens it and screams. In the Enchanted Forest, Granny comes in to get Red out of bed to help her, lock down the cabin again, but it's actually Snow under the red cloak, and Granny freaks out. She's like, where is Red? And Snow has to be like, you can't keep her from Peter anymore. She ran away with him because she loves him more than she fears you. Granny goes off on her and is like, you are the stupidest girl I've ever met. Peter is not the wolf. Yeah, You got it. So we cut to Peter chained up to the tree while Red turns into the wolf. So the box that Ruby opened, that had a heart in it. So Emma is horrified because now it looks like definitely for sure Catherine is dead. Granny takes Snow to find Red and Peter, and she explains that the cloak that Red always wears keeps her from turning into the wolf. Granny was also a wolf, but for some reason she's not anymore. That's never really addressed. I guess maybe she ages out of it. I don't know. They sneak up on Red, freaking eating Peter. So that's traumatizing all around. Granny shoots her with a silver-tipped arrow so that she goes down, and then they throw the cloak over her and she turns back into herself. She is so sad and traumatized and confused. But Red and Snow run away and leave Granny standing there as the hunting party arrives, kind of over the dead body of Peter. At the diner back in Storybrooke, Granny and Red make up, and basically Red admits that she liked working for Emma, but she doesn't want to do a scary, intense, tracking, finding human hearts in the woods job, okay? She wants to do the job at the diner, but she's nervous because she doesn't think she can be as good as Granny. And Granny is like, why do you think I wanted to train you and give you more responsibilities, you big dummy? I think you're good enough to take over and own this place after me one day. David's having a little minty bee over the whole lost time situation, even though Mary Margaret is standing there being like, no, you're perfect, you're amazing, you're wonderful. There's no way you hurt Catherine, and I know it. I will stand with you between the heavens and the earth. I will tell you where you are. Emma comes and tells them what's happened with the whole heart in the box situation. They're both horrified. She says that she found fingerprints in the box lid, and he's like, okay, arrest me, Emma. I know it was me. Take me away. But they were Mary Margaret's fingerprints. So she's the one that gets arrested. We open with Charming and Red traveling together. So this is when he's looking for Snow White and he doesn't know that she's lost her memories yet, okay? They get attacked by the King's Guard, and at this moment, Red is like, you keep going, I'll buy you some time, and she takes off her cloak and turns into the wolf. So we can assume that somewhere between the whole, I can't believe I killed Peter, what happened, and this moment, she's like grown into her power and figured out how to control it a little better. Mary Margaret fully got arrested for Catherine's murder because Emma couldn't make it look like she plays favorites, so Mary Margaret's in jail. Remember how Snow drank the memory wipe potion? She's a raging bitch now, like just killing bugs and little animals left and right. The dwarves are like, who are you and what have you done with our princess? It gets so bad that they called in Jiminy Cricket to have an intervention with her because she's a nightmare. She's not having any of it though, okay? She's not about the self-growth. She just switches tactics and is like, you know what I really should do? I should channel all this newfound rage into killing the queen, and she decides to go on a warpath to kill Regina herself. Emma and Regina interrogate Mary Margaret because Regina is insisting that Emma needs to be kept impartial, so she sits in on the interrogation moment. Mary Margaret is holding out that she did not hurt Catherine, but the box that the heart was found in is in fact not one of Regina's boxes. It was Mary Margaret's jewelry box. And Mary Margaret is like, well, somebody must have stolen it. It must have been stolen. But there were no reports of a break-in. On the road to go kill the queen, Snow White attacks a guard and like cripples him. Like she just bashes his leg in with part of her axe. And then she steals his armor after he tells her that Regina is very quickly going to the summer palace. So she's gonna be traveling, which means she's gonna be vulnerable. Like when I tell you guys she threatens him, what I mean is she shows off the pointy dwarf axe that she has, and she reminds him that it's the only thing strong enough to crush diamonds. So imagine what it will do to his flesh. She's a different woman right now. Grumpy shows up and he's like, you need to let me take you to Rumpelstiltskin because surely he can reverse whatever it is he did to you. This is not you and we need to help you remember that. Emma and Henry search the apartment for signs of a break-in, but they do not find any. Henry is dead set on the fact that Regina must be blaming Mary Margaret because the evil queen hates Snow White. They hear something in the air conditioning grate and Emma finds a hunting knife. August sits down with Henry and tells him that he should look in his book for answers on what's going on. He also gives away that he knows the book is more powerful and that he's aware that the stories are true. Henry's like, if you really believe me, why haven't you told my mom? She would believe you, you're an adult. And August explains that some people, like Emma, need proof in order to believe stuff like this because it does feel like it's too magical and too unreal. And Henry is like, okay, big brain moment on my end, I'll figure out how to get us proof. In the Enchanted Forest, Charming walks up on that guard that Snow like tormented, and the guard is like, oh, Snow White's crazy now. She's gone out of her mind. She's going after Regina. She's lost it. And Charming is like, she would never kill the queen. You don't know her the way that I know her. She would never do that. And the guard is like, I don't think you know Snow White at all. She's crazy. David goes to Regina to try to convince her that Mary Margaret, there's no way she hurt Catherine, but actually it turns out maybe he did because of the whole losing time situation. She has this moment of like looking him dead in the eyes and being like, listen, David, sometimes evil doesn't look evil. Sometimes it's right in front of you and you would never even know it. Mr. Gold shows up to the sheriff's station and tells Mary Margaret that he's happy to be her lawyer. Emma doesn't want her to trust him, but Mary Margaret is like, you have to do your job, and your job is to prove that I'm innocent, okay? But in the meantime, I need help, and he's offering me help. I'm gonna take it. She can't pay him, but Mr. Gold is like, I'm investing in your future. Trust me on this. This is what we need to do. Back in the forest, Rumple explains to Snow and Grumpy that there's nothing that can be done because he took true love from Snow White's memory and it's turned her into this like angry shell of a woman that she is now, and he can't put it back because he's never figured out how to bottle true love. But Rumple is like, that's actually not why you're here though, right? So what do you actually want from me, Snow White? And she is like, I want to be able to kill the queen. Tell me how to do that. And he gives her this magical bow and arrow and a map and like plans it out for her and is like, if you go to this location while she's traveling on this road, you'll be able to fire the shot. No one will know where the shot came from and the arrow will hit its mark every time. David goes to Dr. Hopper to try to figure out if there's something that he can do to help him get back the memories that he had when he lost all that time. Charming goes to Rumple to try to get help finding Snow White. Rumple takes his cloak from him as payment and is basically like, this is where she's gonna be. You need to stop her before she fires that arrow because the second she starts taking lives, she's gonna become as evil as the person she's killing. Henry brings Emma those creepy skeleton keys that Regina's been using to like break into all the homes. And he's like, this is how she got into your apartment without it looking like a break-in. You have to trust me. This is my proof. The keys don't fit when he does it, but when Emma tries them, it works. Charming catches up to Snow. He grabs her and kisses her. And she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm helping you remember. I will always find you. And she knocks his ass out. So it didn't work. He wakes up tied to a tree. She's forgotten that she loves him. So that's why the kiss didn't work. Hopper helps David remember the phone call from the night that Catherine left when they spoke on the phone. He says that she told him that she wanted him to be happy and she was doing what she needed to be happy and he should be with Mary Margaret if that's what he wants. Then he has a memory of seeing Snow White in the woods. Like he gets those memories confused from when he'd been tied to the tree to now. And he sees Snow and Snow is saying, I have to go kill her. I have to do it. I'm gonna kill her. So it gets all scrambled in his head and he panics and leaves Hopper's office. So Jiminy comes and shows up to Charming and helps untie him from the tree. And he says, Charming can't expect Snow to remember who he is if she can't even remember who she is. We cut to Snow about to shoot Regina while she's traveling, but Charming jumps in front of the shot and blocks it. He tells her he loves her, and he doesn't even care that she can't remember him because he remembers her, and he would rather die than let her heart be filled with darkness by killing the queen. She's shook by this, because no one has ever been willing to die for her before. He says no one you can remember, and she kisses him and remembers who he is. Scenes like this and the way they look at each other in these moments make me understand how the actors fell in love in real life. I'm like, I get it. But anyway, this moment is ruined by the king's men showing up. They knock Snow White to the ground and like almost hurt her, but don't, and then take Charming away. So she gets a moment of being like, I will always find you, while he's being taken from her. David goes to see Mary Margaret and explains why he went to Dr. Hopper and everything that happened there. And then also he has to admit that he's maybe like a little bit sure that he remembers her saying she wanted to kill Catherine. She's devastated that he would ever think that she'd be capable of this, especially given the fact that the whole town turned against him and she stood up for him and was insisting that there's no way he could have done it. And now all of a sudden he thinks she's capable of the same thing. Like, he messes up here, okay? It's not good. Snow goes home to the dwarves now that she's back to her normal self and apologizes to them for everything she did. And of course they take her back and they're so excited that she's safe and home again. She needs to go get Charming back and they immediately agree to go help her. Mary Margaret finds a key in the blanket bundle in her cell and realizes she can break out. Emma comes in and tells her that they finally got the DNA results back and the heart is for sure Catherine. So now everybody's like, Catherine's dead. There's no way she's alive because they don't know how hearts work, okay? So we as viewers are like, is she dead or is it something worse? But right now, Emma and Mary Margaret are like, oh my God, she's dead and someone killed her. Emma tells her that she thinks that Regina is framing her. But at the moment, she has no proof because Regina is so smart. Mary Margaret feels pretty bleak about the whole situation because at this point, they've never been able to really beat Regina. They've beaten her in like very tiny, minuscule ways, okay? But she's won all the big stuff. And Emma is like, I have faith in you that you didn't do this. And you need to have faith in me that I can figure out how to prove it. But the second Emma leaves, it like pans over to Mary Margaret's face and she's looking at the key in her hand like, you're looking pretty useful, buddy. Emma goes to Mr. Gold to get help going up against Regina. I'm gonna be so real with y'all. This is one of those moments where I'm like, am I attracted to this? Because he's so smug and so arrogant and so silly. It's the culmination of all my favorite things. He tells her that Emma is much more powerful than she realizes. And of course he can help her. We go back to Rumple in the Enchanted Forest, okay? Remember when he took hair from Snow White? Okay, so he's got that hair, and then he took David's cloak. He gets a piece of blonde hair from the cloak. He puts them in a bottle together. They do this weird like DNA swirl thing. He bottles true love with the magic of Snow White and Prince Charming. Kill me. Final shot of this episode is Mary Margaret's empty prison cell. Woof. Listen, if we've got any Marvel fans watching that don't know what's about to come out of my mouth in the next 20 minutes, y'all are in for a treat. So Emma and Gold come to the station and realize that Mary Margaret has escaped. Henry's already there and he's like, oh, I thought we let her out on purpose. I thought this was part of the plan. And Emma is like, no, but she does have a thing tomorrow at 8 a.m. that she has to be back in town for. And Gold is like, well, then you better go find her before Regina realizes she's gone. Emma is driving to chase down Mary Margaret before she can leave town. And she runs into this guy. Surprise Sebastian Stan jump scare. Oh my God. Oh my God. His name is Jefferson and he agrees to let Emma drive him home because he's hobbling a little bit because she hit him with her car. We cut to him in the Enchanted Forest in leather pants. I'm supposed to be normal about this? I'm not. I'm not even a little bit normal about this. He's playing hide and seek with his daughter named Grace. They go home and the evil queen is there waiting for them at their house. So he tells his daughter, he's like, you need to go hide in the woods. Okay, pretend we're still playing our game. I'll come get you when it's safe. His name is somehow Jefferson in the Enchanted Forest too. So that's suspicious. Regina has come to ask him to make a hat for her, even though he doesn't do whatever that is anymore. He refuses. And she says she understands because there's nothing more important than protecting family. In Storybrooke, Jefferson's house is freaking massive. It's so big that Emma thinks it's a hotel. And she's like, you must have a huge family. And he's like, actually, no, I live alone. So where's his daughter? That's problem number one I'd like addressed. He shows her a map of the area because she lied and said she was looking for a dog instead of saying she was looking for Mary Margaret. So he's like, let me help you. Here's this map. And then Emma passes out because he drugged her tea. Attractive tea drugging man. Look at his costuming. 10 out of freaking 10. At the market in the Enchanted Forest, Jefferson can't buy the toy that Grace wants, and the old woman who's working there is really rude about it. She's like, oh my god, you'd give me all of your last coppers to pay for this? I need a silver piece. You can't have it. You can't have the rabbit. It's actually Regina in disguise tormenting them. Emma wakes up freaking gagged and tied up on the couch. But she is so badass. She puts her teacup on the ground and a pillow over it. She smashes it, and she uses a piece of the broken teacup to cut off her restraints. She tries to escape, but the windows are locked. She realizes Jefferson has been spying on her because he's got this giant telescope near the window in the living room, and it's pointed to the sheriff's station. Through a cracked doorway, we see him freaking sharpening a pair of fabric scissors. Like fabric shears, okay? Those things are solid metal. They're horrifying on their own. Watching him sharpen them, traumatizing. In the Enchanted Forest, Jefferson has made his daughter Grace a rabbit of his own creation. It's so cute. It's like a little hodgepodge rabbit instead of the white rabbit because, you know, Mad Hatter. I love it. Grace is happy with this and she doesn't need anything else. But he can't stand that he can't give her the life he wants to give her, so he agrees to take the job with Regina. While trying to escape, Emma finds Mary Margaret locked up in Jefferson's house. When they go to leave, he pops out and stops them. And y'all, look me in the eyes when I say this. He has a gun. I forget that we're in the modern world sometimes, and then they do things like this, and I'm like, oh my god, where did he get that? Jefferson tells Emma that he is saving Mary Margaret's life by keeping her locked up in the house because he knows about and believes in the curse and she cannot leave town. He's been stuck in the house all alone for 28 years until Emma showed up and the clock started ticking and he could leave. He knows she's special and she's come to break the curse with her magic. So Emma, of course, just thinks that he's insane and she's like, great, we've been kidnapped by a crazy man and he has a gun. He takes her into this adorable little crafting room, and his plan is basically for her to take the hat that he's made and make it work so that he can go home. So Jefferson goes to Regina in the Enchanted Forest and is like, I will go with you, I will help you with this last task, but I want it promised to me that Grace will never want for anything. And Regina agrees. So he pulls out his top hat and spins it on the floor, and it opens a portal. They jump in together. They end up in this room surrounded by doors to all these other realms that they could just step in and go through. He explains very clearly that they have to go through and stay together because they can only cross back through the door into this little room to go back to the Enchanted Forest with the same number of people that they leave with. So they leave with 2, they gotta come back together. They go through the looking glass into Wonderland. In Storybrooke, Jefferson has an amazing monologue with Emma here where he's trying to convince her once again that he's telling the truth because she is like, it's a book of stories, they're not real, you need to realize that and let me and my friend go. He's like, girl, don't you read books all the time? What are those books filled with? Stories. He says the problem with this modern world is that everybody wants magical solutions to their problems, but they don't believe in magic anymore. All of the different worlds are just as real as each other, and the people from them are just as real as each other. None of them are better or worse than the others. It's giving Multiverse of Madness. It's giving parallel lives. It's everything to me. In Wonderland, Jefferson and Regina go to the Queen of Hearts castle. They have to break through her maze. Regina like sends a wall of fire through the maze so that they can just walk through it in a straight line. They end up at one of those crypt things where there are hearts and heart boxes. So it's getting a little funky. It's like, who taught Regina how to do the heart situation? Do all the queens and all the worlds just know how to do it and they all have a special little crypt room with their heart boxes? It's a little suspicious. Anyway, she takes one of them and then they run away. They narrowly escape the guards, but they get out and make it to the looking glass. Before they can rush through, she breaks off a piece of a mushroom and gives it to something in the box. It's her dad, Henry, and he grows to normal size again, and Jefferson is like, hold on, I can't go through with you if the 2 of you go through right now. Was this your plan all along? I have a daughter. Are you insane? Regina is heartless about this whole situation. And she's like, if you actually loved your daughter, you wouldn't have left her in the first place, idiot. So they leave. Regina and Henry just through the looking glass, the portal disappears, and he's stuck in Wonderland and he gets kidnapped by the Queen's guards. This is when he's entering his Mad Hatter era, okay? We see him with the guards and he's very much just like blank stare in a fog, numb to everything. We meet the Queen of Hearts. She's shrouded behind this veil and one of her guards is like speaking for her with this little like amplifier thing that's like attached between them. When he won't tell her the specifics of his traveling back and forth and how he got there and what they were doing, she has him beheaded, but it doesn't kill him. His body like falls over to the ground and his head is hanging there from someone's hand and he's just talking. What? He finally then explains that he used his hat to travel with Regina, but Regina took it and stranded him there, so there's nothing he can do, and that becomes his task, okay? The Queen of Hearts is like, that's what you're gonna do for me then. You're gonna make a new hat, and you're gonna make it work. Emma cannot make the hat work. It's not going well. Jefferson shows her Grace, who in this world is being called Paige, and she's living with like an entirely different family. That's his curse, to know about it and know who she is, but have no way of getting her. Emma softens with him after he does this, and she's like, I understand. I know what it's like to be separated from my kid. I know what you're going through. She even says that she would desperately love for everything he's saying to be true, because if it is, then Mary Margaret is her mom, and that would be amazing. So he's like, so you're gonna help me? And she's like, yes, of course. And then when he turns his back, she takes the freaking telescope and knocks him out with it and calls him a crazy son of a bitch. Rude. So Emma goes to get Mary Margaret out of the house, but they get attacked by Jefferson again. This time, him and Emma end up like tussling on the ground. He is strangling Emma, like hands around her neck, and she's like pushing him off. So she's like pushing his face away like this and trying to get him off of her. And she sees the scar on his neck and she's like, oh my God, what happened to this guy? What is that? He catches her looking and he's like, ha, off with his head. Emma gets him off and they're like squaring up at each other again. And then Mary Margaret just busts out her Snow White fighting skills and Spartan kicks him out the window. He goes flying down into the ground below. And when they look out, it's just the hat down there and he's gone. Emma gives her keys to Mary Margaret and is like, I'm gonna let you go if that's what you need to do, but I wish you would trust me. We cut to Regina showing up at the station and Mary Margaret is in the cell waiting and she's like, oh, hello, Madam Mayor. And Regina's just like, what are you doing here? Mr. Gold is there and he's like, I'm sorry, Regina, my client's not having any visitors this morning. And Regina's like, okay, thank you so much. And she leaves. We learn that Mr. Gold and Regina made the whole plan with Mary Margaret finding the key and then running away and leaving town, and whatever happens when they leave town, you know, that was the plan all along. And Mr. Gold is like, sorry, I guess we underestimated their friendship. And Regina is just livid. Emma picks Henry up at school and sees Paige. She asks to look at Henry's book and finds images of Jefferson with that same scar that Jefferson has in Storybrooke in the book on the Mad Hatter. She also sees Grace and she's like, oh my God, is he telling me the truth? What is going on? Remember when I said that Jefferson was entering his Mad Hatter era? That's because when we zoom in on the page of the book, we see him in this like big carnivorous room in the palace surrounded by hats, just like frantically trying to make it work. And he's just saying, make it work, make it work, make it work, make it work, get it to work, get it to work. It's bad. Final shot of the episode is Emma asking Henry to borrow the book so that she can read it. That's gonna do it for our Once Upon a Time bedtime story for the week. I hope you guys enjoyed. The next episode of this will be the end of season 1, finally. It has taken me so long to get through season 1 of Once Upon a Time. There are just certain people that I can't believe we haven't even like gotten to think about yet. I'm so excited. That shuffling you hear in the background is Eli. As he grows, he's turning into an absolute menace, okay? And he hates when I film, so Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you guys so soon. Have a good one. Bye.